channel. If you guys are new here, hi, my name is Lyssy. Be sure to hit the subscribe button because we are so incredibly close to 2 million subscribers, and it would mean the world to me if you guys would hit the subscribe button because we're getting so close. Also guys, be sure to drop a like or else scary Chuck E. Cheese will come to your house and take all of your pizza if you guys have any in your freezer. And who doesn't have pizza in their freezer? For real, like who doesn't? So be sure to drop a like on today's video and let's see if we get today's video to 20,000 likes. Also guys, before today's video starts, I do want to say make sure to go get your hands on the Angel plushie because who wouldn't want to own their very own Angel? They are only going to be available on the 26th, so make sure you go get one today at LyssyNoelShop.com. They are so cute, you guys don't want to miss out on it. Anyways guys, today we're going to be covering some more stuff about Chuck E. Cheese that is quite terrifying. We already know Chuck E. Cheese has had a lot of horror stories in the last recent months about things going wrong, weird things being found, Chuck E. Cheese animatronics just doing crazy things that no one can explain. But I did dig through the internet and find some more crazy facts and stories and things about Chuck E. Cheese that you guys might not know yet. So the tea is hot and let's get right on into it. So this first fact about Chuck E. Cheese is quite surprising. I may or may not have covered this before, but Chuck E. Cheese was actually supposed to be a coyote. Yeah, so the first drafts ever of Chuck E. Cheese before he was created or before that restaurant chain came out, they actually wanted Chuck E. Cheese to be a coyote mascot that served pizza to the children. However, that wasn't fitting enough for their whole idea, so it ended up becoming a rat. They originally were gonna call it Rick Rat's Pizza, but his marketing pros wisely talked him out of putting rat in the restaurant name. Then they settled on Chuck E. Cheese instead. So basically, they didn't want the restaurant to sound kind of like gross, like rats, because rats kind of have a bad name to themselves, and coyotes did not fit their vibe of cheese pizza. They just didn't feel like that was fitting enough, so Chuck E. Cheese kind of was the name that they decided for the restaurant chain. Also, Chuck E. Cheese's were based on the idea of a carnival, and they were actually inspired by Disneyland's Enchanted Tiki Room, which I find so surprising. If you guys have never been in a Tiki Room before, it's basically this little room you go in and a bunch of animatronic birds start singing and they move around and there's like a whole little show that kind of goes on. So I guess he loved that so much that he decided to bring that into his own little arcade with a bunch of animatronics singing on a stage. But it doesn't really have any extreme correlation to the Tiki Room. The Tiki Room was more, you know, settling and realistic, while the animatronics at Chuck E. Cheese are a little more terrifying. Chuck E. Cheese's full name is Charles Entertainment Cheese. According to his official backstory, he is an orphan. He never had his own birthday, so instead he feels the void of hosting birthday parties for everyone else because sadly, he never had his own, and even when he did have his own, nobody came. But Chuck E. Cheese had some fate because he eventually got a band full of other characters. At first, Chuck E. Cheese was Showbiz Pizza, but over time it developed and changed along the way. Showbiz Pizza was a lot more terrifying than Chuck E. Cheese. Like, the characters at Showbiz, they creeped me out so much. They were the first original drafts of what we now know to be Chuck E. Cheese, but a lot of those characters are scraped out of the picture, and obviously Chuck E. Cheese has changed over time to have the current band that it now has. Another thing about Chuck E. Cheese that a lot of people are terrified of is claiming that the animatronics can move all by themselves. People say that overnight when the whole Chuck E. Cheese restaurant is shut off, that the animatronics are able to blink, twitch, slouch over creepily, and some people say that when they're not running, they see them just do weird things they're not supposed to do. Well, if you guys didn't know, Chuck E. Cheese animatronics were designed a certain way where there is an air pump filtrated system inside of them so they can last and be maintained a long time, unlike the original animatronics that were created from like the first ever Chuck E. Cheese's, like Rock-afire Explosion and stuff. They were designed a little differently and way harder to keep up with, so the animatronics were not going to last as long, but Chuck E. Cheese animatronics could most likely outlive us because of the quality and the way that they're built, because they're built with just that air pump system inside of them to keep them running and to keep them pretty easily maintained. But since the Chuck E. Cheese animatronics have become so much of a worry for children and kind of like a scary concept, sadly they decided that they're going to be removing and taking them all out, and it's already started to begin like right now. Like they're starting to do this now and it's kind of sad, but also the kids were scared. What we've seen over time with the improvements in tech with screens and expectations of kids today, the animatronics are not the main draw of the kids anymore. The kids apparently lost interest in these animatronics, and now when they go to Chuck E. Cheese, nobody wants to watch the animatronics perform on stage because they find them to be eerie. Almost like there's webcams inside their eyes that are watching around the restaurant to follow kids around, and the kids just are downright creeped out by this. A lot of kids end up up crying, running away, and never wanting to go back to Chuck E. Cheese ever again when they look into one of these animatronics' eyes. And it's gotten to a point where Chuck E. Cheese just feels like there's no need to have them anymore. So they're ripping them down and completing this plan very soon where they're going to add dance floors into all the Chuck E. Cheeses and get rid of all of the animatronics forever. It's kind of sad. Rest in peace, Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. But, I mean, it did have to happen someday. All good things come to an end. Another really creepy thing that's been happening is there's this certain game where there's like a water gun and it's kind of like a race. And basically, this is a concern because water shoots out of this gun and there's a lot of kids that for some reason decide to try to treat this game like a water fountain because they're so young and they don't know better enough. Well, rumor has it a few kids have tried to put their mouths in front of these nasty arcade games water machine pump thing and drink out of it like it's a water fountain. And it made some kids very, very ill because these are actually arcade games that have to have certain chemicals inside of them to be kept in the arcade and run throughout the day because it's an arcade game, not a drinking fountain. And the kids that ended up drinking out of this shooting water game got really, really sick. It was not good, and we don't even know how long that water has been sitting in the machine for with those chemicals. Another really creepy fact is that the ball pits at Chuck E. Cheese are rarely ever cleaned. There's like gross greasy pizza slices in the bottom of these things, diapers, lost toys, who knows what else is at the bottom of the ball pit. However, some Chuck E. Cheese employees that say they've worked there said they were quite shocked how little the balls were cleaned and how they were cleaned when they actually were. One Chuck E. Cheese employee says that they actually just grabbed all the balls together with a net and took them through a car wash to sanitize them down. However, that employee felt like it wasn't enough for all of those balls that constantly have little children crawling inside of there, you know, licking the balls, eating the balls. It doesn't sound right. You know, just doing kid stuff inside the ball pit and like diapers and ew, it's just so gross. So personally, I'm gonna stay out of the ball pit. I don't want to know what's happening in there. So another concerning thing about Chuck E. Cheese and all arcades, which I don't really find this one to be a concern, but some people do, so all due respect if you do. Some people think that arcades could be an influence on children to start gambling. So basically, Chuck E. Cheese always used to have that kind of like token concept where kids would get tokens, they could play games like Plinko, you know, and some games even look like they did represent gambling to an extent. And people believe that the arcades that were based for children were going to eventually lead those children to gamble further on in life because it would start that addiction young. Basically, I mean, in a sense, you are trying to like pay money for games to win a really, really cheap prize like a lollipop or a sticky hand, which obviously in the end benefits the arcade, they profit there. But in some sense, it could start an addiction to the kids where they just want to keep going back to win lollipops and more prizes and more toys, which could potentially lead to further addictions in the future for money-based games, which is a really interesting concept and kind of scary if they are trying to like manipulate and brainwash kids at a young age to get into those kind of things. Another really creepy and gross and disturbing fact about Chuck E. Cheese is how dirty the mascot costumes can actually get. So a lot of Chuck E. Cheese employees, especially ones who had to play Chuck E. Cheese, have said not only is it a nightmare to be the rat when all the kids are running around trying to beat you up, yeah, they get beat up on their job, you know, pull your tail, try to like rip off your head, and who knows, maybe you could even faint in there because it's so hot and it's just full of foam and stuffy. But they say that they don't get to wash those costumes a whole lot because it's a whole process, so they rarely ever get washed. Yeah, so those costumes are very, very stinky. And some employees go in there wearing makeup, so the makeup gets all over the mascot head and the foam. Some people, you know, they just have to like get in there after a shift where somebody else was just Chuck E. Cheese and they smell like their body odors in there. Ew, it's so gross. Like, there's no way for them to like wash it down very often enough to like keep running that because most locations only have one Chuck E. Cheese costume which all of the employees borrow. Ew, that's so gross. Okay, that's nasty. Another crazy thing about Chuck E. Cheese is that there has been so many fights that have broke out. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but they're all over the internet. Basically, if you guys didn't know, Chuck E. Cheese actually sells alcohol. I don't know why, because it's a children's place. I find that very strange, but alcohol has kind of caused a few problems at Chuck E. Cheese birthdays with the adults. Sometimes families have a big fight, and it doesn't end well, to say the least. It sometimes ends in a fight, and a lot of really sad birthday parties. Poor Poor kids. Speaking of adult-like Chuck E. Cheese behavior, did you guys know that Chuck E. Cheese used to actually smoke a cigar and promote it publicly? Yeah, back when Chuck E. Cheese first started, Chuck E. Cheese was spotted with a cigar in his mouth quite often because back then I guess that was more socially acceptable, but it would never cut it today, and especially for a children's figure. I was shocked seeing that he actually had a character representing someone who smoked, which is crazy. Smoking is not good, kids. And last but not least, this other fact I found was pretty crazy because I've covered Barbie before in a few videos. You guys might be wondering, why am I bringing up Barbie? Well, our two favorite people, Chuck E. Cheese and Barbie, have done a collaboration, believe it or not, which is bizarre to me. I don't even know why they would collaborate. Back in 1995, there was a special release Barbie that had a doll wearing a sweet-looking Chuck E. Cheese shirt. Then in 2001, another one was released, and I bet those go for a lot of money on eBay because those were complete collector items. Anyways guys, those were some pretty interesting stories and theories about Chuck E. Cheese. Let me know in the comments down below if you guys have any other crazy spooky stories or facts about Chuck E. Cheese that you guys want to share. And that's gonna do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed it, be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and leave a nice comment down below for a chance to win a shout out in my next video. See you guys next time. Bye guys!